A poor painter named Chev met a beautiful and wealthy businesswoman named Lunthom. Their love story was like a fairy tale. They met, dated, married, and lived happily. Chev deeply loved his wife, always showering her with attention and affection to ensure her happiness. However, their love story was cut short by a cruel fate. His wife contracted an incurable disease. Despite his best efforts, the painter could not save her life. To prove his love, the painter chose to guard his wife's body for 100 days. This was a truly moving tale of love. But was the reality as beautiful as the story? The story is set in Bangkok in 1991. A beautiful young woman named Ross worked at Lunthom's company. Born poor, she longed for a comfortable, luxurious life. She loved partying at nightclubs, hoping to meet a rich, handsome man who would pull her out of poverty. In reality, before Lunthom's death, Chev had long been having an affair with Ross. Ross recalled her first meeting with Chev, how the handsome man instantly captivated her. Knowing Chev was her boss's partner did not deter her. One day, her chance to approach him finally arrived. Their first introduction took place in Chev's office when he offered Ross shelter from a heavy rain.
Back in the present, Chev emerged from the lawyer's office, carrying a will from the deceased Lunthom. Ross waited anxiously for him in the car. Chev told Ross he had a surprise, a villa he described as a hidden paradise where they could start a new life together. Blinded by love and Chev's sweet promises, Ross immediately agreed. They traveled to the remote area, passing through forests and villages far from the city noise. During the journey, they passed a shaman who gave them an unsettling look. They ignored him and kept driving until they arrived at a luxurious and beautiful villa deep in the forest. Chev announced that this place was proof of his love for Ross. Their first night in the dream villa was romantic. Ross, who deeply desired a comfortable life, was extremely happy to be living in such luxury. While relaxing, they noticed a shaman performing a ritual right in front of the villa. Chev quickly chased him away for disturbing their peace. Before bed, Ross decided to take a bath. This is when strange events began. The ghost of Lunthom suddenly appeared and terrorized her. She woke up and realized Chev was gone from her side. Filled with fear, she searched every corner of the dark and unfamiliar house.
A door leading to a small house in the backyard stood open, and there, Ross found the answer to the terror she had just experienced. Inside, she found a glass coffin. Lying within was Lunthom's body, preserved by a special cooling unit to prevent rapid decomposition. Ross's mental state instantly shattered upon realizing that the man she loved was still keeping his dead wife's corpse. Chev then explained everything to Ross. The reason he kept his wife's body and was staying there was due to a condition written in Lunthom's will. According to the will, Chev could receive his late wife's entire inheritance on one condition. He must guard Lunthom's corpse for 100 days. If he failed this requirement, the entire inheritance would be forfeited. The story shifts to the past. Long before her death, Lunthom had actually discovered the affair between Chev and Ross. She caught them being intimate in Chev's office, which caused deep pain. Lunthom was devastated. She was beautiful, very rich, and truly loved Chev. She was confused about why he cheated on her. However, Lunthom chose to forgive him and give Chev a second chance. To fix everything, Lunthom took Chev to a luxurious villa. This villa was exactly the same place Chev and Ross were currently occupying. Lunthom made the villa a symbol of a new beginning, a place meant only for the two of them. With high hopes, she also pointed to a Lunthom tree, or frangipani, in front of the house, declaring that the tree would symbolize their strong and eternal love. Returning to the present, Ross's days at the villa were filled with increasingly intense supernatural disturbances. Lunthom's ghost was not just appearing, it had begun to interact physically. For example, when Ross was in the kitchen, an unseen force suddenly gripped Ross's hand, forcing her to point a knife toward her own wrist. Fortunately, Chev managed to bring her back to reality. Chev took Ross to see the view from a hilltop, and they looked down at the villa. Ross saw the Lunthom tree planted near the villa, and because it reminded her of Chev's ex-wife, she asked Chev to cut it down. On the way back, Ross entered a small house nearby and saw that it was filled with paintings of Lunthom. This made Lunthom jealous, and she asked Ross to paint her too. But when they were painting Ross by the river, Chev seemed possessed. He did not hear Ross calling him. When Ross woke him up, it turned out that Chev had been painting Lunthom, not Ross. The terror continued into her dreams. Every night, Ross felt cold hands creeping over her body and covering her mouth until she woke up in a panic. She tried to convince Chev that Lunthom's ghost was truly in the house, but Chev always denied it. He calmed Ross down and insisted that everything Ross was experiencing was just a hallucination. The longer Ross stayed in the villa, the worse her mental condition became. Ross begged Chev for them to leave the house for a while, but Chev refused. It was then that Chev revealed the contents of his late wife's will.
Chev and Ross must guard Lunthom's corpse for 100 days, or they would not receive Lunthom's assets. If either of them left the villa, the entire inheritance would be forfeited. This was the main reason Chev had asked Ross to live with him. Ross felt deceived and questioned the sincerity of Chiv's love. Did he truly love her or just want Lunthom's inheritance? Chev did not pretend. He honestly admitted to both. He truly loved Ross, but at the same time, he desperately needed Lunthom's inheritance. Chev then persuaded Ross to hold on a little longer for their future.
The story shifts back to when Lunthom was still alive. At that time, Lunthom's condition started getting worse. The doctor explained she suffered from a strange disease that caused her to sleep deeply for days and could be fatal at any time. Amidst Lunthom's suffering, Ross bravely came to their house, demanding Chiv's attention. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, Lunthom, who appeared to be in a coma, was actually fully conscious. Although her body could not move, she could hear everything happening around her. Tears silently fell as she witnessed the betrayal taking place right before her eyes. When her condition improved, Lunthom confronted Ross and gave her a harsh warning to stay away from her marriage, threatening Ross with far worse consequences if she refused. However, Ross responded defiantly, certain that Chev loved her more. Chev, a man who had lost his sanity, continued his affair, sparking a huge fight with Lunthom. Physically and mentally exhausted, Lunthom questioned what she lacked. All this time, she had given everything and only asked for loyalty, but Chev repaid her with betrayal. Instead of trying to fix the situation, Chev acted cruelly, saying that living with Lunthom felt boring and suffocating. During the heated argument, Lunthom's illness suddenly returned. She collapsed, her breathing labored, and her body went numb. Chev just stood silently, watching his wife take her last breath in pain. Returning to the present, that night, while Ross and Chev were relaxing, Lunthom's ghost appeared and physically attacked Ross, choking her until she nearly ran out of breath. This incident completely exhausted Ross's patience. Ross ran toward the small house and destroyed the glass coffin, damaging the cooling unit that preserved Lunthom's body. Chev rushed in to stop Ross's actions. In her anger, Ross accused Chev of only caring about the corpse, but Chev reminded her again that everything he did was for the inheritance. The next morning, when Ross was alone in the house, Lunthom's ghost became bolder. The invisible spirit launched the most brutal physical attack on Ross. It kicked her, grabbed her legs, and violently dragged her across the floor. When Ross tried to fight back, her hand was pierced by a nail on the stair rail, tearing her skin.
The attack did not stop. The ghost grabbed Ross's face with inhuman strength until her teeth broke. Suddenly, the television in the room turned on by itself, showing Lunthom walking inside the screen as if breaking through dimensions to attack her directly. When Chev returned, he found Ross panicked and hysterical. Ross insisted she had just been brutally beaten by Lunthom's ghost. However, once again, Chev dismissed everything as Ross's hallucination. Over the next few days, Ross lived on the verge of madness, starting to suffer severe hallucinations. She even briefly saw Chev having intercourse with Lunthom's corpse in the coffin. In desperation, Ross desperately sought help from the village shaman she had previously met to perform an exorcism ritual. The shaman began the ritual by burning a frangipani tree in front of the house, which was believed to connect spirits. The ritual briefly worked. Maggots appeared from Lunthom's body. Chev, watching the scene from afar, became furious. He grabbed the rifle and forcefully drove the shamans away.
In his rage, Chev declared he was tired of guarding the corpse and that Ross was useless to him. A fierce argument broke out again, leading Ross to finally decide to leave. Chev tried to stop him, crying and begging Ross to stay. He finally made a confession that shocked Ross. Chev confessed he had deliberately let Lunthom die so he could be with Ross. He pleaded with Ross not to leave, arguing that without him, all his sacrifices would be useless. Despite the confession, Ross still left. However, on his way, he was overcome with doubt and guilt. Ross finally decided to return to the villa. Upon arrival, he found Chev soaking in the bathtub, staring blankly. Ross tried to fix everything and apologized, promising they would face this together. However, Ross did not realize that Chev was possessed by Lunthom's ghost. Ross watched Chev walk up the stairs. When Ross followed, he saw Chev standing far off, wearing Lunthom's nightgown and attacking him with a knife.
Chiv's body was now controlled by Lunthom's vengeful spirit, hunting Ross relentlessly. The reflection in the mirror was not Chiv's face, but Lunthom's cold smile. Ross fought desperately, stabbing Chiv's shoulder with glass shards and even shooting the leg with the rifle, but the body kept moving as if it felt no pain. The chase ended by the river. Chev caught Ross and brutally bashed his head against a rock until Ross was dying. Lunthom's ghost then said she would not let Ross die easily.
death was not the end for Ross. His soul was trapped in a supernatural dimension where Lunthom tortured him endlessly. The final scene of the film shows Chev waking up inside a locked glass casket next to Lunthom's rotting body. Chev screamed and begged for release, but it was useless because they were the only ones left in the remote villa. Meanwhile, fluid from Lunthom's decomposing body slowly dripped from the casket, falling directly onto Ross's body lying on the floor below. They were now trapped there forever.